De regreso aquí en Auto 060, and we're going to switch back to English again because we're going to talk to Richard Risetti, President and CEO of Seapine Software, which conducted a very interesting poll about how people feel about driving and riding on driverless cars, which is something that apparently, according to this result, is not sitting very well with a lot of people. How are you, Richard?
I'm doing fine. How are you, Javier?
Excellent, thank you. So, car manufacturers have been working on these new technologies about making the cars pretty much drive themselves. And I guess some people are not ready for this kind of for technology, right? With, like maybe happens with a lot of new technologies in every other field.
Yeah, that's certainly what we're seeing. That's certainly what others are reporting. It's not like a carnival ride where you can just get into a vehicle and be strapped in and on rails. There are just a lot of variables that come into play, even beyond some of the security concerns and the other concerns around privacy. So it's going to take some time for people to get comfortable with this idea of just sitting in a vehicle that's barreling down a highway at great speeds with little personal control.
Yeah. I'm wondering how the survey was conducted and how many people who participated in it have had the experience of being in one of these cars, maybe not driving or even as passengers.
Yeah, I don't think right now the number of people who've had an opportunity to experience this type of a vehicle is very small. So certainly a lot of concern out there among people to even take a chance to and even have access to this type of vehicle.
So, according to the study, 88% of adults say they will be worried about riding in a driverless car, and I guess this is more about their own safety or like the implications of being in that kind of car. What's in that result?
There seems to be probably three big areas. A lot of people are concerned about liability, who's culpable in the event of an accident. And so that's going to be a big area that people that car manufacturers are going to have to overcome, and the government is going to be involved in that as well, because there are a lot of issues right now, a lot of legislation around automobile safety and around who is responsible in the event of accidents. And in April of last year, The Economist talked about the government potentially limiting exposure just to help the industry get off the ground. But in today's environment, I think it would be very difficult for exposure to be limited for this type of vehicle.
Yeah, I guess there's already a lot of information going back and forth with simply GPS. I mean, most people don't realize that when they turn on their GPS in their car, they obviously send in information about where they are exactly at the moment. And like some of the services that provide traffic alerts on highways, I mean, are based on that, right? The amount of cars that are going on a particular highway or street at one particular moment. So there's already a lot of information being exchanged through the car.
That is true. There's an awful lot of information there, and if you look, the survey results said about 37% of people were concerned about the government having access to that information about where they were. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal back in June talking about privacy, and about 75% of the respondents for that survey were concerned about companies collecting personal information. And interestingly, 70% were worried that the government was going to get that information, which I think in today's environment with what's happened with the NSA revelations, people want to be more private.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I mean, like the topic can go for I mean, obviously maybe years, because apparently that technology that car manufacturers have developed, again, over like decades almost, it's pretty much ahead of government issues like legislation and infrastructure. I mean, like there's a lot of technology that car could use today that will need some like smart roads like to be fully functional, right?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. If you look at the environmental just parameters that are involved in driving a car, light, dark, roads having markers, not having markers. You have rain, you have snow, which would cover markers. There's so many variables there that cars a lot of the collision avoidance stuff that's going into cars today, I think, is fantastic, and that's really probably leveraging more of technologies that have been used for years, radar technologies and such. But when you start to get to a car that has to be able to drive itself and stay on a road and avoid other cars in the process, there's a lot that's going to happen, not only from a technology side, but as you point out, from an infrastructure side.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I had the opportunity last year to attend an event with Nissan where they show us the technology they're working on it. And this car, I think it was a Nissan Leaf, the electric car that had radars and cameras and pretty smart cameras that, for example, will read stop signs, will read speed limits, and will read other things that just like the lines on the road. And pretty much the car obeys those rules. So in that sense, this technology can help not only avoid going over the speed or like over going a stop sign, but the final goal of all this is avoid accidents and deaths and injuries, right?
Yes, that is true, and I think there's certainly some things that can be done in cars today. As you point out, a lot of cars come with GPSs, and a lot of GPSs today understand road speed limits. So there are safety features that can be leveraged today that could potentially govern a car's speed, that could help with safety, and then collision avoidance obviously is a real big one. There's a lot of talk right now about car-to-car communications, with the government getting ready to put together a regulatory proposal, and that type of technology would help one car let another car know its velocity, its potential direction, and that would also help collision avoidance, even with two people driving their respective automobiles.
Yeah, so for some car manufacturers, the goal is like 2020. I mean, like we're talking only 6 years. I mean, that was the regular cycle life of a new vehicle, and now they're talking about something that could pretty much change the whole idea and the whole experience of driving if they can really achieve a zero death because of car accidents. That's very short time, but again, technology is moving super fast.
That's true, and I think you put a stake in the ground on a date, and if you don't hit that date, at least you're working diligently towards making progress. And so there's a lot of technologies that are all being developed right now that maybe they come together in 2020, maybe it's 2030, but the end result is a continual reduction in highway deaths and serious accidents. So any progress, I think, is good progress. And overall, it probably doesn't impact the cost of the car. And it's going to just take time as these technologies come together, for the cars that are on the road today to be turned over and replaced with the cars that have the safety features. So 2020 is a great goal, but really the overall goal is just getting that reduction, and that's going to happen in time with all the exciting technologies.
Yeah, very interesting. We're talking to Rich Ricchetti, President and CEO of Seabine Software, which conducted a survey about worries or the thoughts about on people about driverless cars. And another issue that they mentioned, I mean, only 12% say they will not be worried about riding a driverless car. And again, from the first question, I guess these are people who have probably experience being in a car that there's not on the production side, but there's like some pretty amazing technology that the S-Class, for example, the new Mercedes-Benz S-Class, almost 50% drives itself.
Yeah, there's definitely some great technology. I wish coming out today that's out today, including the Mercedes S-Class technology. I wish I had in my car. So people are definitely getting used to having this available to them, and I believe if they were to switch cars, we would certainly miss the technology. So people are definitely going to get used to it. And the driverless aspect is probably the hardest part to overcome. Certainly in a lot of countries, America, the open roads, having that ability to get behind the wheel and just take your car out on the road is something a lot of people enjoy. I know I enjoy it. So there will be a certain group of people that will certainly benefit from this. There are a lot of benefits to as we approach the driverless car, including fuel consumption being lowered and helping people who are disabled and the elderly be able to get from point A to point B. Better traffic flow, lower cost of trucking. It's just going to take time for people to get used to that not being in total control of the vehicle.
Yeah, I guess some people really, as you were mentioning, really just enjoy the experience of driving. But I don't know the number, but I would say there's a lot of people who don't really care. I mean, they want to get into the car. They have to get into the car to go to work, maybe just get there, and they couldn't care less if the car was doing it on its own, right?
That is true. There are certainly people who have a very long drive to work, for example, who feel they could get work done much as they would if they were getting onto a train. So there's driving a car can certainly be a chore. And interestingly, in the Wall Street Journal article from June of last year, about 72% of people felt that people who were in the car as the primary occupant, which today be the driver, should not be allowed to surf the web or do other things that would distract them in the event that they had to take over the vehicle. So while people would certainly enjoy having the ability to be productive or relax as the car is driving them, there's still a large part of the population that feels, no, they need to be in control in the event that something does happen.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time, Rich Ricchetti, and we're like half a minute away from the end of this segment. Is there a website or anywhere where people can find more about this study and survey?
Yes, they can come to our website, which is www.cpine.com, and certainly learn more about what we do as a company and learn more about our survey.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll be talking soon, hopefully.
Thank you, Javier.
Thank you. Bye.